Are you feeling stuck in a cycle of worry and fear? Are you tired of feeling like you're your own worst enemy? Are you curious about how your mind tricks you into fearing the worst? Today, I'll reveal the three common and sneaky thoughts that are secretly fueling your anxiety and making you feel trapped, regardless of what you're anxious about. Hi, I'm Jennifer Jumas, a voiceover artist as well as a licensed clinical psychologist for almost 25 years. Welcome back to my channel, where today I'm going to address three common core thoughts that fuel anxiety and provide some valuable tips and insights on how to navigate through them. Have you ever felt that overwhelming wave of anxiety wash over you when you're in a situation like preparing for an interview, or even something simple like leaving the house and worrying about your safety? I know I have, and let me tell you, it is not a fun experience. Okay, so in psychology and CBT, which stands for cognitive behavioral therapy, these core anxiety-triggering thoughts are called overestimation of threat severity, overestimation of threat likelihood, and underestimation of tolerance or resilience. And if any of this sounds kind of like psychobabble, don't worry. I'm going to break these down and explain them in everyday words and give you examples so that you can fully understand what each one is. Let's start with the first core thought, overestimation of threat severity. This is how bad we think something is going to be. We assume potential threats or bad things are going to be more serious or harmful than they actually are. For example, imagine you had a job interview coming up. Instead of seeing it as a normal part of the job search process, you might catastrophize and believe that if you don't perform perfectly, your entire career will be ruined. We might even take it further to imagine that we become financially destitute and end up homeless on the streets, that our family and friends will be ashamed of us and reject or abandon us. These exaggerated thoughts naturally make it harder to face challenges head on. You'll want to avoid going to that job interview at all costs if you've made it seem like it will lead to failure and doom. Next, we have overestimation of threat likelihood. This is how certain we are that something bad will happen. This thought makes us believe that negative outcomes are more likely to happen than they actually are. For instance, you might avoid going for a walk because you fear getting mugged, even though the crime rate in your neighborhood is actually quite low. Or you might cancel that job interview because you are certain you will just embarrass yourself, because everyone is more qualified than you anyway, right? If these thoughts aren't challenged, you can end up feeling like no risk is ever worth it, and you seek out ways to be 100% guaranteed of your safety or success. Since this is not really possible, your world starts to shrink down into a suffocatingly tiny bubble of perceived safety. And if you combine it with the previous example in overestimation of threat severity, it can look something like this. I am certain to bomb that job interview, and it will be horrible when that happens. Finally, we have the underestimation of our ability to tolerate discomfort. This is when we doubt our capacity to cope with difficult emotions or situations. It usually shows up as the thought, I can't handle that. We tend to remember all the times we feel like we failed or had pain and heartache, and we forget all the times we were brave and overcame the challenge in front of us. By underestimating our resilience, we limit ourselves and miss out on opportunities for growth and personal development. Putting all three together, in the job interview example, it would sound something like, I am certain to screw up the job interview, which would be horrible, and I would not be able to handle that. In the example of fearing being mugged, it would be something like, I am certain I would be attacked in some way, and I'd never be able to get over it, and that would ruin my life. You know, during the pandemic, these types or styles of thoughts were really common, and that spiked anxiety for the entire world. Especially in the beginning, there was good reason to believe that the threat of catching COVID was almost certain, and that it would be near fatal if we did catch it, and we wouldn't be able to cope with that reality. So we adopted avoidance behaviors and obsessive, almost OCD cleaning habits as the norm. And it took a long time to feel like we were safe enough to take normal risks again. Remember that it's okay to feel anxious, but it's essential to address the root cause of these feelings. Reflect on your thought patterns and see if any of these common thoughts resonate with you. By taking small steps to reframe your thinking, you can make a significant impact on your mental well-being. Now that you understand these core thoughts, you don't want to miss out on this next video to learn the top 3 coping strategies to manage anxiety.